is to give you an overview of what the sustainable approach of packaging means, which options exist, the benefits and disadvantages, and a summary about the use of this material within the design phase of a product or while thinking about possible re-engineering of existing products. Again, we'll be taking questions at the end of this presentation. If some questions cannot be responded immediately, Isabel will do her best to research information and send answers back to you. This is the Learning Shares agenda. I'll start with an introduction to sustainable packaging goals before Isabel dives into compostable packaging. As Kristen mentioned, Isabel will give you an understanding of compostable versus biodegradable and bio-based definitions, and go into regulatory framework, types of compostable materials, along with the pros and cons of compostable packaging, and ending with guidelines to designing for recovery. So what's the rush to having sustainable packaging? As you know, sustainability has been a huge topic for those in the packaging industry. And most recently, many CPG companies have communicated pretty significant sustainable packaging goals to meet in the next 3 to 5 years. And the reasons are as follows. The first, to get ahead of regulation. Today, there are many regulations around packaging and materials, maybe more so in Europe than in the US. But soon more and more rules are being established. And when new regulations are released, companies are typically given sufficient notice to comply. This reason alone is a catalyst for corporations to have sustainable packaging and to have it achieved by a deadline. The next reason is to be proactive against reputational risks. As many of our clients are leaders in the food, beverage, CPG, and life science space, the world has their eyes on them. And if you're the last to be using single-use plastics, not making initiatives to demonstrate the transition to sustainable packaging, or not complying to regulation, that can definitely put your company at risk to have a poor reputation. Another reason is to respond to changing market preferences. Our younger generation generally gives much more attention to sustainable packaging on the planet, considering they have much more time to spend on it. And even if that younger generation is not your target consumer today, they eventually will be. Your consumer will choose a product that has recyclable or responsibly sourced material rather than a product that doesn't have sustainable packaging. And lastly, and the obvious, is to save the planet and do the right thing. Let's take care of our home and not destroy it. I attended the Sustainable Packaging Coalition conference this summer, and SPC had categorized the packaging sustainable goals into these areas based on what companies had communicated as their long-term goals. I personally think this is a great breakout as there are so many paths to achieving sustainability. There are 9 goal areas: replacing your current materials with bio-based ones, completely eliminating favorable materials. Packaging as a whole has a negative impact on the environment, so why would you use unfavorable ones? Increasing recycling, improving volumetric efficiency, as this is becoming more critical with the e-com market, improving recovery infrastructure. So thinking of the end of cycle rather than just focusing on the front piece. Design for recovery, responsible fiber sourcing, so making sure your fibers are sourced from working forests and sawmills. Recycled content, or can they increase the recycled content in their packaging, and improving material efficiency. Today, we're going to focus on providing you more knowledge on compostable packaging as part of the Design for Recovery goal. Design for Recovery means designing packaging that can be effectively recycled, composted, or reused at its end of life. When designing for recovery, there are some points to consider. You definitely want to understand, verify, and track what is recoverable. There are third-party organizations such as BPI, or Biodegradable Products Institutes, and How to Recycle that will help you figure out what and how packaging is recoverable. It's important to get your foundational knowledge of recyclable and compostable materials. With so many compositions out in the market, You'll definitely want to verify which materials of your packaging components can fit the requirements. Consult design resources and test methods for help. So use and take advantage of the design resources, test labs, methods, institutions, and the universities for help with designing recoverable packaging. For example, you may want to utilize Western Michigan's recycling pilot plant for testing and developing a recycling protocol, which can make some big steps to achieving your goals. There are so many resources outside your material and packaging suppliers that you can consult. And as part of design for recovery, think about the full cycle and holistic approach. There are other areas within the cycle that are just as important to making it successful. There are those who need to be educated and excited about recycling or composting, and we can't forget about the MRFs, or the multi-reuse facilities or composting centers. Specific to the support of the infrastructure improvement, partner with organizations that build a recovery infrastructure, and even evaluate your own distribution chain for opportunities to develop recovery programs. And again, participation in this program will only go as far as how educated consumers are. Clearly label your packaging and ensure effective communication with consumers. And why not leverage your brand to encourage customers to care and understand the incentive of participating? There can actually be some fun ways to get involvement, such as augment AR labels in which the brand's spokes-character can speak about the package's sustainability, or incorporate traceability to show history of the package and how it once has been a milk jug. So now let's dive into compostable packaging as you start designing for recovery. I'll now pass this presentation along to Isabel Valero, who has spent some time researching this topic.
Okay, thank you, Cindy, for this introduction, and welcome everybody to this October Learning Share. As Kristen presented me, I'm Isabel Valero, a Program Manager at Adept Packaging, and I will introduce you to compostable material, and we will be revising characteristics, different frameworks, pros and cons, etc. So let's start then from the beginning by revising the concept of compostable. So here you have a very detailed definition that the American Society for Testing and Materials gives to us. But to make it a little easier, we can say that a compostable material is a biodegradable one that adds nutrients to the soil through a proper decomposition and under certain conditions. So, in forthcoming slides, we will see how this concept has relationship with biodegradable and bio-based terms. So, as said, and before moving on, we would like to address that today there is some confusion regarding the meaning of the three terms: bio-based, biodegradable, and compostable. So it is necessary to understand these differences, and we can see that either with the definitions of each term, but as well with the graphic that relates them. Let's see.